Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, my entitled aunt squatted in my beach property while I was outside of the country. This Karen tried to forge documents claiming that she is the rightful owner of my house and that we are trespassing. Here is what happened. The title story starts like this. I own a beautiful beach house that honestly is the only thing I wished was that I could live in more than I already do. My work causes me to travel for weeks to sometimes even months at a time. It can be exhausting, but let me tell you, nothing feels better after months away than walking into your own home and sitting on your couch. Before I married my wife, she knew that this was the type of job I had and what she was getting into. Sometimes she will choose to stay home, but most of the time she just comes with me to wherever it is I need to travel to. For her it is great because it's like going on a ton of vacations in different countries. I am really fortunate that I met somebody so accepting of my job requirements instead of being upset by them. She works independently, and as long as she has internet access, she can work from anywhere. Another great thing about my wife is that her parents are both fantastic and I get along great with them. Things with her family might be perfect if it wasn't for her entitled aunt that seems to always pop up when nobody even invited her. We came to learn that if we hosted any kind of event and family was invited, she would show up even if we wanted it to just be our parents or something. She is the dictionary definition of a Karen and I hate her. My wife even agrees that she is not like anybody else in her family and they don't know where this behavior came from. Just that she acts like this and they come from a family that does not believe in cutting people out of your life if they are related. And to be fair, she had never done anything too crazy in the past. That was of course until the plot of this story. I had just had a 3-month business trip in France and I couldn't wait to take some time off and relax in my bed enjoying the beach and my own shower again. What we did not expect was to see a car in the driveway and the lights on in our house. We are confused and looking back probably should have called the cops at this point. For all we knew, dangerous people were in our home, but our jet-lagged brains decided to just going in was the best decision. Luckily, nobody dangerous was in the house. That was where all the good news ended because my aunt-in-law, AIL from now on, seemed to be living in our house. There was mess everywhere and clothing thrown around with no care in the world. I didn't know what emotion to feel and a little wheel in my head seemed to have landed on just anger. Me, what are you doing in our house? What have you done? AIL, is that any way to speak to your family? I knew that you were no good for my niece. Me, how did you even get into our house? How long have you been here? AIL, oh, the lock on the back door wasn't so hard to get open. A beautiful beach house and you two barely even use it. Always dragging her away on some business trip instead of letting her enjoy the nice house. Wife, I've told you before that I want to go with him. I don't have to and sometimes I don't. Me, regardless of you butting into my marriage, I'm gonna ask you to get your stuff together and get out of my house. Aunt-in-law then got a creepy smile on her face and crossed her arms over her chest. I consider this as a Karen power move and before she opens her mouth knew that she was gonna say something I did not want to hear. Well, actually, it's my house now. I have the papers to prove it and everything. If you want to change your attitude, I might let you stay here with me. Otherwise, niece can stay with me and you can go sleep in your car or on a bench. At this point, chaos ensues with all 3 of us talking at the same time and nobody listening at all. The basics are me and my wife telling her that we never sold the house and she could not be serious trying to pass off those papers. My aunt-in-law going on about how horrible I am and never paid off the house so she had to step in and take it over so it could stay in the family. That everybody wanted to come over and enjoy the beach but never could because we were never home because of me. Basically insulting me while we told her that she was out of her mind thinking she could just steal our house. While the papers were fake, they were good fakes and she convinced people that she really did own the house. We have to take her to court in order for a professional to look over the papers and files and determine who really owns the property. So this meant in the meantime, nobody could stay in the house and if you thought I was mad seeing her break in and try to steal the house, I was furious when I heard that of course. I just wanted my bed and shower, but now I was stuck staying somewhere else again while we waited for the courts to work things out. You can also bet that we were pressing charges against her for trying to steal our house, so the stakes were very high for her. Despite the papers looking very real, the court was able to determine that we were the rightful owners and she had forged the documents. Suddenly, her story was changing to being our guest and watching over the house while we were gone. I think this was to try and both claim that she didn't break and enter and trespass. Also, to try and claim that she was a squatter in the home and because of that she didn't have to actually leave. However, it didn't work, and as for her claiming that she was a guest, I made a very public show of kicking her out and telling her to stay away from our house. That was the least of her problems, as she was facing the criminal charges that we were pursuing against her. Even my other in-laws agreed with us that this was the right thing to do and did not try and talk us out of it. The consequences for the breaking and entering and trespassing were small. The falsifying documents, on the other hand, was a more serious offense, and she was not getting off with just community service or a slap on the wrist for that. Nope, she was actually sent to prison, and we were surprised at that turn of events. Since then, we have taken measures to ensure our home being safer while we are gone for long periods of time. This included a security system that if a code is not entered, the police will show up at the house. Also, a camera, so if they did get past the code, we would get an alert of movement and see that our home was entered and could call the police ourselves. With AIL behind bars, we were not too worried about any other relatives trying to pull what she did though. She was the only crazy one in the bunch, and I can only say I am glad for that. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I am so glad that this crazy aunt ended up in prison, because that is exactly what you should get for falsifying documents and trying to steal the property of someone else. If you enjoyed the story, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even leave a comment if you want to support me. Thank you so much, your help is very much appreciated. And the next one is titled Business After Closing Revenge. So I've been working at a Subway restaurant for the past 2 years, from the end of high school through my first year of college. I take classes in the morning and afternoon, so when I work it's usually a closing shift, only working 15 hours a week, full-time student. The only issue is I close by myself, so it really toys with my anxiety whenever I get a rush or cannot finish certain duties by a certain time. So by the end of the night I'm usually so out of it mentally and just want to get home ASAP, we close at 10. So tonight I was closing like usual, and I really wanted to get home as early as I could to finish an assignment due at midnight. Of course, with my luck, it turns out being one of the busiest nights we have had in a while, because they recently sent out coupons for buy one get one footlongs after 4 PM. Such a dumbass move, especially for alone closers. So by the time 10 rolls around, I'm finishing up the dishes, cleaning the line, counting the bread, wraps, bowls, etc. and I go lock the door at 10. And as I'm turning off the open signs, a guy walks in and I tell him, "Sorry, we are closed." He winnily responds, "Then how did I get in here?" I respond, "I was walking to lock the door right now, you have to leave." Him, "No, I want a sandwich." At this point, I'm just thinking if this guy's ballsy enough to tell a business worker to stay open after hours because he wants service, and then I don't know what he could do. So I decide to make him his sandwich to just make him go away. He proceeds to take a good 2 to 3 more minutes just staring at the menu. Oh my god, I was fuming. Every dagger imaginable coming from my eyes was hitting his stare. I make his sandwich and then we move to the POS/cash register. I go to put in the sandwich, tell him his total, and he pulls out a $50 bill. Damn, I get so excited because we cannot accept bills over 20 and I pray he doesn't have any other method of pay. I tell him the bad news and he of course gets angry, saying to break it anyway. Well, good thing I just dropped most of the money from the register into our safe before I went to lock up, so I literally could not give him proper change for the 50. I explain it to him as I slide his sub to the side where he cannot reach it, and he just leaves in a fit of rage. I proceeded to then take that sub home and eat it whilst finishing up my assignment and turning it in on time. Honestly, if he was not such a commanding douche, I would have just given him the sub and tell him not to worry about it. But if you're gonna force me to do my job past our posted hours and be a douche about it, you're not getting a break. And yeah, Ripe Stars, honestly, this is such a telling story and I'm not at all surprised by this. People are simply getting more entitled and have less empathy for others. If I see someone closing shop and working there alone, I won't ask him to make a sandwich for me. Anyway, the next one is titled A Grocery Store Falling Apart Without Her is one thing, but this was next level. Posted by user 20apocalyptic20 on r/ripe stories, our own subreddit. For some backstory, my mother-in-law, late 30s female, worked at a chain grocery store. Corporate is out of Texas. Anyway, my mother-in-law once loved her job, but they did her dirty. Example A, found out she went to church, made sure to start scheduling her on Sundays. Example B, her health starting to get really bad and goes on medical leave, made sure to put her on a schedule for 2 days so she'd be a no-call, no-show, and then outed themselves when the manager lied and said he sent the paperwork to corporate, only to retract when my mother-in-law said she would call them to fix it. Take a seat, y'all, because this tale is one of many twists, turns, and a whole lot of bro, what the hell? That day later, my brain is just, I cannot even explain. So back to the story. Before my mother-in-law got her new job at the General of many dollars, she worked at a place that claimed you could save supper amounts. Think of an off-brand Cash Savers or Neighborhood Market. She worked as a cashier, her customers loved her, and a lot of them admitted to her that she was the main reason they came to that grocery store instead of Walmart. What everyone didn't like is the insane prices, especially in our small town, of maybe a very generous number of 1,000 people. What customers, nor corporate, knew, but my mother-in-law found out a few months into working there, was the prices were getting high because of many reasons, the main reasons being theft. Customers stealing was a big problem, but thanks to mother-in-law, she could catch a majority of it, but what customers were really paying for was the employee theft. My mother-in-law noticed employees in the back. More specifically where the butchers worked, people would walk back there, but never walk back out the front. It was because they were getting free meat from their friends, but that was not the end of it. They have a box out back that they put meat and other goodies in for their friends to take for free or themselves. Items that were fresh, and there was one co-worker mother-in-law worked with, we will call her A. A was 17 but turned 18 a few months after. She started to not work as much and it was a crazy moment when she actually would. Finally, it came out that she was dating the manager. Side story, my mother-in-law found out after she was fired that a young new employee got fired because another manager sexually harassed her. Basically, he got a slap on the wrist and kept his job. So back to the story, this 18-year-old and the manager started dating shortly after she turned 18. He has kids and his oldest is maybe only 2 years younger than her. All the other employees gave the girl hell because she started dating the manager and they were constantly around each other. Yet, no shocker here, she didn't want her family, especially her dad, to find out. When she talked to my mother-in-law about it, my mother explained to her, I mean, if you don't want your father to find out, especially when you know he comes in here all the time, you should not be hugging or clinging on each other all the time. Did she listen? No. Customers knew, everyone knew, I did not even work there and I knew. It was not hard to tell. All the other employees would tell her that he is grooming her, etc. You might be wondering why they are saying this. Well, what would you think when a 38-year-old instantly starts dating a girl the second she turns 18? But don't worry, it gets so much worse than this. After my mother-in-law got on sick leave and after everything they did to her, she realized the job was not worth it. A few employees and customers told her the store quickly went downhill without her. One of her female workers in her teens told her it felt like she held everyone together because the second she left, everyone was at each other's throats. Again, don't worry, it gets so much worse. My mother-in-law wanted to call corporate, but she hasn't. She wanted to stay focused on getting better, thinking about how she would explain everything to them. Well, I'm pretty sure that now she doesn't have to because of everything I'm fixing to explain. After 2 to 3 months of my mother-in-law healing, she began her job at the General of many dollars and she saw the 18 female's dad. She asked him how he was doing, how his daughter and her boyfriend were doing. Him, what boyfriend? Mother-in-law? Oh, I thought you knew. By this point, my mother-in-law thought he actually knew because how could he not? He got it out of her. He guessed right away that it was the manager, and what he proceeded to tell my mother-in-law made her say, "What the hell?" out loud, and when she told me everything, I said the same thing, so here's a rundown of what she got told. Manager, who as you know is 38, I think with 2 to 3 kids, whose oldest is only about 2 years younger than her, has basically known A her whole life. And yes, you've read that right, known her whole life, and as I've stated, don't worry because it gets worse. The manager's kids is related to A. I believe their mother is an aunt or something, I'm not sure, but his kids are related to her. They have watched each other grow up and this 38-year-old man has watched her grow up and the second she turns 18, they are instantly together. Me and mother-in-law really think that's a situation that was going on a lot longer than they admit. By the way guys, sounds to me like the authorities should get involved in that situation. But anyway, my mother-in-law asked him if he knew what grooming was, and the look on A's father's face when realization hit him said a very unhappy yes. Me and mother-in-law thought that was the end of it, but boy, were we wrong. An old employee of mother-in-law's that still works at the store came in, saw her, and was more than happy to tell my mother-in-law the crap store that hit the fan. What happened next was this. A's father and older brother went into the store, another employee told A's father everything. Apparently, A's father and older brother didn't take being told a second time very well, and a very unlucky manager was in the way of a Category 7 hurricane. Apparently, A's father and older brother found the manager, I believe at the back of the store, and began dragging him up front and beat the living brakes off the manager. However, the worst part is, he got to keep his job and only A got fired. I believe corporate sent some people down finally to see what in the actual F is going down in that store. Update to the story, mother-in-law was told that A's mother knew and had no problem with it, but as mother-in-law said, you cannot believe everything that you're told, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, Ripe Stars, wow, I gotta say, this store probably takes the crown for the worst work environment I've ever heard of. Absolutely insane. And yeah, as I mentioned before, it really sounds like the authorities should get involved here. The next one is an Am I the Jerk story. My 39 male son, 17 male Bryce dated our neighbor Lana, 17 female, for a year. They broke up mid-January for reasons I don't know. I won't sugarcoat this, I never liked Lana. She always seems a little unhinged, controlling and aggressive, and she's always demanding Bryce's attention, and there were quite a few times when she showed up on our house out of nowhere. Whether it was 7 AM or 11 PM, because Bryce was not answering his phone, screaming and calling him a cheater when it wasn't like that. The thought of our son getting abused by his girlfriend made us worry so much. So my wife and I tried to talk him out of that relationship. We said how that it wasn't normal nor healthy. We didn't want to force the breakup because we feared Lana would lash out to him, so we tried to do it in a sneaky way. We don't know if it worked, but they ended up breaking up. He said that after he broke up with her, Lana didn't contact him, which was weird because he expected her to go nuts, but I told him that if fate didn't give him crap, he better not tease it. Now the problem is that we bought my son a car for Christmas, nothing fancy but enough to get him to school, his job and eventually college. He parks it in our driveway outside our home. Ever since the month began, we had been finding scratches all over the car. We know Lana was doing it, but since it was minimal, my son decided not to do anything, even if we could prove that it was her. We have CCTV. Still, something smelled bad for me, so I decided to switch one of the cameras facing his car directly, just in case. And well, 2 weeks ago, we got up and we found my son's car covered in a lot of crap. Paint, glue, feathers, confetti, the door handles were wrecked, flat tires, paint all over the windows, you get the picture. Bryce and my wife were so distraught, we called the police and I handed them the CCTV footage that showed Lana and her brother, 23 male, destroying my son's car. We pressed charges and needless to say, Lana's brother went straight to jail, but since she is still a minor, her parents want to make a deal, but I refused. I don't think she should get a way out. Before the police was there, she was laughing her butt off and she tried to play it cool. If she thought this was funny, then she is old enough to face the consequences. My wife and I want to stand our ground. They said they will buy my son a better car and put Lana on therapy, but it's not enough. Am I the a-hole? And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you think that OP was the a-hole for getting Lana in trouble or not? And I would say, if you do the crime, you should do the time. And in this case, Lana committed a lot of crimes, aside from just being a terrible girlfriend, which is not a crime, but it's definitely something you should not strive to be. I would say OP did everything right. Anyway, a first comment said, if you cave, you're literally teaching Lana that no matter what criminal or sociopathic act she does in the future, her parents will buy her way out of trouble. She needs to learn early there are consequences to criminal actions, not the a-hole. Comment number 2, not the a-hole, and tell a lawyer that they tried to bribe you. Pretty sure that's illegal. Comment number 3, not the a-hole, you need to stay course, this girl needs to know her actions have serious consequences. And more than that, I'm happy your son has such supportive parents.
And the next one is titled, Am I the a-hole for not chipping in to pay for damages in an HOA? I live in a large old home with 5 condo units. One of the owners has not lived here for almost a year. We recently had a sewage backup that caused a ton of damage in the shared basement but happened to spare my area, which the plumber explained was because mine was the farthest away from the sewage line. The cause of the backup was deemed by the plumbers to be flushable wipes. Obviously everyone is denying using these wipes. Like an idiot, I stupidly made a comment that I had tossed some paper towels in the toilet a while back after an unfortunate accident in the bathroom, and naturally all the blame somehow fell on me. Everyone is pissed at me, even though I don't understand why paper towels I flushed over a month ago could have caused this. The one owner who doesn't even live here and unfortunately had the most amount of damage keeps making passive-aggressive comments saying that he should not have to pay for damages clearly done by a certain individual. Everyone's insurances are covering most if not all of the damages and losses, but they are asking me to chip in to help pay for whatever is not covered, because in their minds I caused this and people feel that it is unfair for me to be the only one spared. The cost will amount to almost $1,000, which is no chump change. I feel bad that everyone else is going through this, but they cannot prove that I caused the sewage backup, and deep down in my heart I don't even think I was the only one who had tossed paper towels or wipes or whatever down the toilet. I adamantly refused to chip in and people are now even more angry. I just wanted to get other people's perspectives on whether I am being an a-hole or if I am justified. And a user in the comments said, "Not the a-hole, you didn't cause the damage and you don't owe them anything." And then someone else said, if he flushed paper towels, then yeah, he did cause the damage, they are not flushable.
And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.